What's going on, everybody, and welcome to your Financial Dose. Today, we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, and that is how much money do we need to actually be happy? And even though this question may seem a bit trivial because depending on what you may want in life, you may require different quantities of money, but in the end, that's not really where we derive our happiness. So to start off, we'll just quote a few studies that say that you need to earn anywhere between $60,000 and $95,000 per year to be happy. And obviously, depending on where you live, this may be a little bit more or a little bit less depending on the cost of living. However, I think what's important to take away from these numbers, so the 60 to 95,000, is that essentially all this number needs to do is enable you to meet your needs, enable you to have enough discretionary spending to enjoy yourself. So if you want to go to the movies, you want to go to a restaurant, you want to go on a vacation, and you need to buy airfare, pay for hotels, pay for food over there, your salary should be able to cover all of these discretionary spendings within a reasonable limit. So if you make $200,000 or you make $100,000, if in either case you can cover your basic living expenses and you have enough money to really do the things that you truly enjoy, it could be rock climbing, it could be, going to the restaurant, it could be anything. But as long as you have enough money to do those things, personally, I don't think that making 10 times more money will necessarily make you happier. And throughout the video, I'm going to be explaining several reasons why. So the first concept that we need to really go over is the concept of hedonic adaptation. And this is the tendency that us human beings have, which makes us get used to new situations and new things really quickly. So if you've been working at a job for 5 years, you've been making, say, $60,000 a year, all of a sudden you get a new job and you're making 90. Initially, it's gonna be like almost like a whole new world for you. You'll be so happy, so excited, oh my God, I'm making an extra $30,000 per year, this is amazing, I'm gonna be so much happier than I was before because I'll have all this extra money. But the truth is that after a short period of time, you actually get used to this increased income. And what happens when you get used to this increased income is that your happiness peaks up when you initially get the raise, and then over the next days, weeks, or months, your level of happiness will slowly start to decrease back to your norm. So if you're, let's say, generally happy 6 out of 10, and then you get your raise, you're happy 9 out of 10, once you get used to that raise, you're gonna go right back down to a 6 out of 10. And this is pretty much how us humans have such a high level of adaptability. It's because partially of this hedonic adaptation, and this goes on the good side and on the bad side. If you lose your job, if you end up living in the woods for a month, your body will adapt to that new environment, and then that will become the norm for you. And another very simple example of hedonic adaptation is, let's say you bought the car of your dreams. Super quick, super fancy, great sound system, and everything else that you wanted in a car. Obviously, you will be so excited before you receive it. And the days leading up to the actual delivery of that car, you'll be one of the happiest people you know. Then you drive the car, you get the car, you're in the car, and it's amazing. It's everything you hope for, everything you dream for. But as the weeks go by, you just get used to that. You get used to owning that car because it's yours. You've owned it for the past couple weeks. You're going to be owning it for hopefully the next couple years. And it just became part of your life. And it no longer has this aura around it of unattainability and whatever other positives that you attribute to it. It just becomes your car, and you get used to the speed, you get used to the agility, you get used to the look, and at the end of the day, this purchase that made you so happy when you initially made it starts to wear off over time. So one of the things that we could try to do to get over this is to just be mindful that us as human beings are very quick to adapt to new situations. So if you do get a raise, or if you do get that new car, just enjoy it and be mindful that at some point you will appreciate it less, or that the raise will mean less because you'll just get used to it. But if you're mindful of that, it'll help you prevent yourself from spending money on the next thing that you want that you think will make you happy, but that really doesn't because you get used to it, and then once you get used to it, you want to spend money on something else, and then you want to spend money on something else. So being mindful that we get used to things very quickly will help you get out of the rat race much sooner. Another important thing to understand when it comes to money and happiness is that absolute wealth, meaning the actual amount of money that you have, versus relative wealth, so how much money you have over your friends or over your neighbor, is much more important. Us humans, we tend to compare ourselves all the time to everybody around us. We always want to be better than the next guy beside us, than our friends, than our family. We want to be able to show that we've achieved more than them. So if all your friends make $50,000 and you make $70,000, you'll feel much happier or much more comfortable with that number because it's more than your friends. If you made that same $70,000 but all your friends made $120,000, then it'll be the complete opposite. You'll feel unsatisfied with your job, you'll want more, you won't be happy, you'll always be comparing yourself to your friends and feeling inferior to them. And this is very similar to the expression which is keeping up with the Joneses. So, the typical thing is if you live in the suburban neighborhood, your neighbor's across the street, he just bought a new car, you kind of feel the need to buy a new car to at least match his status or surpass his status, just to show off and say, well, you did that, so I can do that as well. And it sort of makes you feel better because, again, you're comparing yourself to your neighbor, and if he values the car he drives and you don't, well, you're just setting yourself up to be even less happy than before you purchased the car because you'll end up having less money to do the things that you truly care about. This is also a very dangerous loophole that a lot of people can fall in. So again, be mindful that what makes your friends or your neighbor or your family across the street happier doesn't necessarily mean that it'll bring joy to you. And trying to constantly spend your money to keep up with the people around you is a great way to end up retiring with very little left. Another danger of actually having a job that pays you very well is called golden handcuffs. And this means that the fact that you're making so much money, you've actually lived up to your paycheck. So if you actually wanted to stop working because that job doesn't necessarily make you happy, you won't be able to because you have all these expenses to pay that you can't really get out of because you've been living up to the amount of money that you make. So by living below your means, this gives you much more flexibility. If ever you realize down the road that you're not happy with your current job, you'll have much more ability and freedom to switch, because if you've not only managed to save money because you've been living below your means, but if your new job pays you less, or at least less at the beginning, you won't be experiencing times of financial hardship because you have always been living below your means. And hopefully this new job will be, again, above your means, but since you've been living below your means, you'll still be able to save money while working there. So now this kind of begs the question, well, what does make you happy? People say that money doesn't buy happiness, but obviously you need money to do certain things, but only up to a certain point. So how do money and happiness correlate between each other? Well, the first thing is that it really depends on what you spend it. You always hear, oh, it's better to spend money on experiences versus material possessions. And although through research this has been proven to be true, it's not because, oh, the memory of the experience lasts longer. It's not really about the memory. It's just the fact that if you go on vacation for 2 weeks, your body does not have time to adapt to this new situation. So every day that you wake up on vacation, it's kind of a novel experience to you. The fact that you do things that you don't normally do for your day-to-day. Maybe if you want to spend money on parachute jumping, again, that's fine if that's what you want to do, if that makes you happy, if the thrill of that experience will enable you to cherish that moment for years and years to come, that's great. But also keep in mind that your body, again, didn't get used to being thrown out of a moving plane. So that's why these experiences are so much more powerful than material possessions, because what you own, you get used to. It's what you don't own, but what you do that are things that you can't necessarily get used to because you're not there long enough. If you're on a 6-month vacation in the same country, staying at the same place, I'm pretty sure that the novelty of that vacation will start to wear off as the weeks and months go on. The next thing when it comes to experiences is usually they're experiences that you share with people around us. And the 3 things that matter most to humans on average are personal connections, personal growth, and a sense of community. So if you're sharing experiences with other people, well, you're connecting with people around you and developing new relationships. And you're also experiencing personal growth because new experiences will obviously help you grow. So by spending money on experiences, it's not so much the memory, but it's more what is derived from the experience as a whole, and the fact that these experiences are usually much shorter than what we live every day, so we don't have time to get used to them. Another thing when it comes to spending our money to make us happy, it's been shown that spending money on other people will make you more happy than spending money on yourself. Because not only does spending money on someone else mean that you're doing a good gesture for them, but this gesture will be remembered and if you see that the person is actually getting enjoyment from whatever it is that you purchased, it'll make you feel much better than buying it for yourself. If you guys haven't tried this before, try it. Instead of buying yourself something to, shop your way out of a sad day or a bad day, try to buy something for someone else, bring it to them, and look at the reaction that they give you. I guarantee you that will make you feel much better than buying yourself a new pair of shoes. And the last thing that I want you guys to think about is that at the end of the day, it's very important to look around us and be grateful and be content with what you have and what you've achieved. Because if you always look around you and just that in and of itself makes you want more all the time, you're going to be in this loop where you're always trying to get more, and then once you've achieved the more, you want more again, and then you achieve that, and then you still want more. And I'm not saying this is bad if you're happy along the way, if you enjoy what you're doing, if you enjoy striving to achieve more, then it all works out. But achieving more just for the money, thinking that this extra money will make you happier, is wrong. And if you are passionate about something and this something ends up generating you a lot of money, there's nothing wrong with that. Enjoy the fact that you've been able to spend your life doing something you're passionate about and make money. That's like, in my opinion, one of the best case scenarios. But it's important to realize that the correlation between money and happiness isn't as simple as we think. It's not a clear cut, you need a minimum of $70,000 and then you'll be happy. But if you make double the amount of money, well, you're not going to be 2 times as happy, but you will still be happier. That's not necessarily true. It really depends on how you spend the money, what you do with the money, and what are the things that you are really passionate about in your life. And once you figure these things out, you'll be able to live a much more happy, financially stable life. Well guys, thanks for tuning in. As usual, hope you learned something. If you enjoy the content I'm creating, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel, and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.